It is almost 2025. It's so wild. I read a little over 100 books this year. Most of them I loved. Most of them were like 4 or 5 stars. Some of them were duds, but that's whatever. My friend Emily and I were talking about some of the books we've read in the past and if we would, reread them. And I think there's a few books that I want to make a priority to reread in 2025. So I'm going to talk about 5 books that I would love to reread in 2025. Starting with It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know a lot of people do not like Colleen Hoover. This was the first book that I read in my adulthood that made me fall in love with reading again. I think I read this in 2021, maybe 2022. This is kind of what sparked my love for reading again, and now I am full on obsessed with reading. I want to reread this. I've already seen the movie, so I know what happens. I want to experience reading it again because the first time I read it was amazing. This was my favorite book of 2023, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I absolutely loved this book. A woman of color, a queer woman of color, come on now. The first time I consumed this book, I listened to the audiobook, and I would love to read the physical copy this time. This was my favorite book of 2023, so I want to reread it this year. Next up would be The Simple Wild. This is kind of odd, but the reason I want to reread this is because I love to read the rest of the series in 2025. So I want to reread this because if you're anything like me, I forget everything I read in a book. I read a book and then it's just out of my mind. So I don't remember what happened. I know Jonah is one of the characters. It's based in Canada. That's all I remember about this book. So I want to reread it so I can read the rest of the series. Number 4, I don't have with me because my friend Rachel currently has these copies of the books, but I would love to reread The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret and the little short novella, and then probably The Housemaid is Watching, but maybe not because that wasn't my favorite. I devoured The Housemaid and The Housemaid's Secret in 2022. That's when I read them. I remember falling in love with those characters and I know exactly what happens, but I just want to feel that feeling again of reading that series. Last but not least, I am so excited that Shatter Me is popular again. I read this book when I was a teenager, so well over 10 years ago. I remember just loving this book as a teenager. I ate this shit up, and I want to reread this entire series, starting with Shatter Me. I'm trying to remember if Ignite Me or Unravel Me was my favorite. It was either book 2 or book 3. I should look it up, but I'm not gonna. This series was amazing and I want to reread it. This is going to be on my 2025 TBRR. Honorable mention, but I don't think I will get to it this year, is I would love to reread A Court of Mist and Fury and A Court of Wings and Ruins. I would love to reread those two because those are my favorite 2 books in ACOTAR. Why I say it may not happen is because I want to read the Crescent City series. I have books 1 and 2 of Crescent City right there. These books are just way too long. In the interest of time, I may not get to Mist and Fury and Wings and Ruin, but if I do, I would love to reread those as well. But it might have to be a 2026 task. We'll see. Those are my 5 books I would love to reread. Let me know what books you've read that you enjoyed, that you would love to reread, or just let me know what your favorite books are so that I can add them to my TBR because my TBR is ever growing and never ending, and I love reading. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.